Are we ready, folks? Are we ready? Seems like I am early today. Everybody else is late. Yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem. Good morning everyone, says Mr. Tarun. It seems like you are late today. Mr. Tarun. I was on time, as promised, you know. I said I'm gonna be here at 8. I was here at 8. Sorry, it seems like nobody believed me. Like, people were gonna be like, it's gonna be an Indian standard time. If he says 8, it's gonna be 8:05. But I was at 8 sharp today. So if you can hear me, let's begin. Mr. Tarun sends me something. Nice. So if you can hear me, just let me know. I'll check my audio on LinkedIn. Yeah, it's good. It's good. So we're good to go. Let's begin. What do you say? Yes. Beautiful. Beautiful. Bum 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 bum. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Thinker's Frequency. We're having such a good time. This is the peak of human civilization. We are working so hard, doing such good work for ourselves, our parents, our kids, our siblings, our husbands, our wives, our friends, everybody. Well, not other people's husbands and wives, I hope. And just when we thought things couldn't get any better, like they couldn't possibly get any better, well, they just did. Call it divine intervention, folks, but things just got a whole lot better. Now we have Thinker's Frequency, our daily mental workout, our daily dose of insights and analysis which don't lead to paralysis right before we punch in. So let's continue with our journey of reading between the lines, things that are especially interesting and important in the world of business and finance. Let's go! Oh, but before we go, you gotta follow a tradition, right? You know the tradition. You know the sweet and sacred tradition of the simultaneous sip. We'll all sip something together and it'll bring us good luck, as it does every day without fail. And all you need for the simultaneous sip is a cup or mug, a glass, a tank, a chalice, a stein, a canteen jug, a flask, or a vessel of any kind. Pour it with your favorite liquid. I like hot water with some black pepper in it. And here we go. Oh my god. Really needed it. Let's do it again. Beautiful. You know what the simultaneous sip says, right? You know what it says? It says that you are not alone. We are in this together. As says my branded cup, courtesy a very special viewer of Thinker's Frequency. Uh, with that out of the way, let's begin. So, there's some heavy dose of news basis whatever is going on the gaming front, but let's cover a bit of geopolitics first. You remember Mr. Musk was going to start his political party, the independent political party. It seems like he's dropping the idea. He's giving it a pause. He's looking at supporting Mr. JD Vance in 2028 because that's a more, let's say, practical way of going about things. Starting a political party in US, even with the strategy of placing kingmakers, isn't really something that can fly easily, and Mr. Musk realized it. So that's that. Why JD Vance? You realize that now Mr. JD Vance is like the prodigy or protege of Mr. Peter Thiel. And Mr. Peter Thiel is deeply connected with Mr. Elon Musk. Now, they built their first company together, right? PayPal. So, in 0 to 1, Mr. Peter Thiel writes that he had a company, PayPal, and then Mr. Musk had a company, and then they met and they merged. Mr. Peter Thiel was the CEO, and then they built the company, they scaled very, very quickly. And as they scaled, Mr. Peter Thiel essentially sold the company without Mr. Musk's approval. So Mr. Musk wasn't really looking at selling PayPal. He believed it had a lot of potential, but Mr. Peter Thiel wanted to sell out, cash out. He wanted to look at other things, and so he was successful in his quest of selling the company and booting Mr. Musk out. That led to a lot of animosity between the two for a while, but not forever. And they're pretty close friends, Mr. Peter Thiel and Mr. Musk. Now, Mr. Peter Thiel had a VC company where Mr. J.D. Vance worked. So, Mr. J.D. Vance was essentially a protege of uh, Mr. Thiel, right? And he's therefore very connected to the whole VC ecosystem, deeply connected, and thus deeply connected to Mr. Musk. And that's why he got in. Mr. Thiel got him in the U.S. political scene. J.D. Vance, by the way, Mr. J.D. Vance has a very interesting story. He has written a book called Hillbilly Elegy, which was a pretty good book actually, not bad at all. Which also got into a movie, made into a movie, which was not that good. So he was basically talking about his upbringing. He lived with his grandmother and so on. So very interesting story. But the point is, Mr. Musk is not going to begin with his political party. That idea was dead on arrival, and that idea is dead. So moving on, that's going on with U.S. politics, right? You can't beat Donald Trump. So in when this conflict was going on between Mr. Musk and Mr. Trump, what I had written at that time was a quote by Mr. Masayoshi Son, the founder of SoftBank, where he said, "Who wins in a battle between a crazy guy and a smart guy?" Right? Who wins a battle between a smart guy and a crazy guy? And the answer is always crazy guy. you know and no matter how crazy Mr. Musk is, like Donald Trump is some different level crazy, right? So can't fight that battle, unfortunately. Moving on, President Xi Jinping of China is visiting Tibet. Tibet is like a very troubled zone for China. It has that it's been colonized, and people from Tibet, the monks, they don't like China. Unfortunately, China has been doing what it can do. It's been pushing people to Tibet, right? It's been sending people to Tibet in a bid to actually make it its own, like demographic shift, which has also seeded a lot of discord amongst people. But he is now going to Lhasa and talking about it. China, by the way, is also looking at pushing its stable currency backed on yuan. So stable currencies are really kicking in. It's China's bid to essentially uh, give an alternative to the world for dollar, right? So that it's an academic project right now. It's not really going far at this stage, but US is pushing its stable currencies, and so is China. So let's see what happens there. Moving on, with the whole gaming biz. Uh, let's not call it gaming. Lok Sabha has passed a bill, of course, which seeks to blanket ban on the betting apps. Let's not call it gaming, because gaming is otherwise a very intelligent and a very positive and a very good business, right? By the way, video games are like much bigger than film industry. Did you know that? Film industry and Bollywood film industry and music industry combined do not constitute even half of the gaming industry. So gaming industry is a very healthy, very positive, very productive industry. It involves a lot of creative people, a lot of jobs are created, and its outcomes are mostly good. So some games are addictive, like people say Clash of Clans, and a lot of games are pretty addictive, but very intelligent industry. And the evolution of gaming is a very good evolution. it's a very gaming has led to a lot of technological revolutions. So betting should not be equated with gaming, but unfortunately, that's also a framing, right? How these betting apps started calling themselves gaming apps. So to muddle everything up. Anyway, so Lok Sabha has given a blanket ban on gaming. We've discussed that. And gaming companies are in a tizzy. Uh, Games 24/7, Dream 11, all these people, MPL, and so on and so forth. Uh, Mr. Tarun says gaming is a 232 billion industry, music is 32 billion, movies 83 billion globally. You're right, Mr. Tarun. And we've discussed this. So, gaming is a very good industry. By the way, if we are talking about gaming, you know how gaming began as an industry? Do you want to know the story of the inception of gaming as an industry? So, some US defense guys, they were essentially on the radar, right? So they were tracking the radar, and the radar has a green dot, right? And that's what they were fiddling with. And while fiddling with the radar uh, dot, they essentially created a code which made the dot have a life of its own. Okay, they freed the dot, gave it motion, and put walls around the uh, the the dot. Okay, the playing area, let's say. And on one side, they had one player which was essentially reflecting that dot. So that dot comes and it hits the pad and gets reflected. That was the first game that was created. It was the game of tennis. So they called it tennis. A ball essentially moving from one place to another, and here's this one player which is moving the pad. So they hit the pad, they move, and then there's this other player who hits the pad, and then you can keep complicating the game. So that was the inception of video games, right? Beautiful story, lovely story. But now this real money gaming is obviously very different. Real money gaming is not gaming. Let's call it betting. So government has banned betting, and uh, now this bill needs to go through Rajya Sabha. Once it goes through Rajya Sabha, obviously it's gonna go because whoever came out with the bill, they have the majority. The BJP has the majority, so they're gonna cancel. Now, once it becomes a law, the gaming industry, the betting industry cannot do anything, right? And the whole drama is that this is you're not gonna be able to ban this thing because this is going to go unregulated, right? A lot of money, people are still gonna play games. It's just that they're gonna play illegally, and the government is saying that we'll take that chance. So earlier, the legal provision was game of skill versus game of chance, right? Game of skill is allowed, game of chance is not allowed. So what the companies used to do was that they used to prove that whatever they are doing is a game of skill. So they gamed that regulation, and every betting app was essentially positioning itself as a game of skill, right? Now that was obviously not flying, and the government has chosen to kill its source of revenue. Now the question is, are these people right? Is it impossible for the government to actually curb the illegal gaming operations? Let's say Mahadev and Radhe, and viewers of Thinkers Frequency would remember how we've talked about gaming business, the irregular, illegal part, going on. So we've discussed about like how I met my friends who were actually running these illegal betting shops, right? So the way they work is very interesting. They collect money through UPI in different accounts. Okay, so they call people. They ask. They have a website which is an illegal website, and illegal website is taking those bets. So how they process those bets is that they take money in personal accounts, and those personal accounts are sourced from all over the country. Like a farmer somewhere in a village far, they get those accounts, they get money deposited in those accounts, they take that money, deposit in the website themselves, and then the bet is placed, and then those people work. So, and then that money needs to be converted into black, and then it has to be converted into white. So it's a very, very complicated process, which these people do. So my friends, they've been running like a monthly deposits of 3 to 4 crores. uh, totally illegally, right? So the gaming companies, what they're saying is that this is possible, that this happens at scale. Now, are they right about that? Is the question. Is it impossible for the government to rein in these illegal betting shops, right? Well, it's obviously not impossible. It's not hard. Uh, Mr. Tishar Tiwari says, Woo, Nishant has connections in both the real world and the underworld. Yeah, I'm a very well connected guy. I have connected I have connections with people who raised like $50 million. I have also connections with musicians who are defaulting on credit card debts. I know people in the real money like betting play, the legal ones, the CTOs of those companies, and then also the illegal betting shops. I like to take both perspectives because I'm a very grounded guy. I like this. So I was talking to these people, and they told me that's because we were trying to get into the virtual voter game, right? So this is how they work. Now the question is it possible for the government to actually stop those players? Well, of course it's possible. But what did Scott Adams sir teach us, right? Scott Adams sir taught us that where does corruption happen? Corruption happens when there's a lot of people, when there's a lot of money, and there's a lot of time. Okay? This leads to complications, which leads to corruption. So if you're trying to block, let's say, the illegal players, will corruption come in the way? Of course, because there's a lot of money, there's a lot of people, and there's a lot of time, right? So how do you deal with that is the play. Now the government's angle is that these people, the illegal betting shops, will have to go digital. Okay, they'll have to go digital, and once they go digital, we can catch that because without people, so we can be trapping those people who are taking these digital transactions off. But these people are saying that, sir, you won't be able to do that. So this is the contention. Would you make it legal? Because the illegal operation is hard to catch. That is the legal dilemma. Which side are you on? What do you think makes sense? Would you just let it fly because it's hard to catch? That doesn't make any sense. Uh, well, I can argue on both sides. That makes all the sense. So legalize LSD, legalize all drugs, right? Because you can't be catching everything. So legalize everything, right? Collect tax. But the other side is you can't do that. You can't do that. And both sides are very strong legally. But if it becomes law, right? There's gonna be no perspective to that. It's just gonna be clear. It's gonna get illegal, and then you'll cross the bridge when you get there. Mr. Tarun says, well, lawyers get paid. Lawyers get paid. It should be a t-shirt. Lawyers get paid. Anyway, moving on. So this is a very big deal that's going on in this industry. Speaking of other things, India may unlock business visa for Chinese. So we've talked a lot about how India and China are trying to warm up and get past their very, very difficult conflicts, like literal border clashes. India has allowed biz visas. They had allowed tourist visas earlier. Now they're also allowing biz visas, basically business visas. So here's what India has done until now. They've allowed Chinese investments up to 24% in Indian companies without scrutiny. They have allowed tourist visas. They've now allowed business visas. They are essentially looking at tech transfer. China has not agreed for tech transfers. They want to keep the IP. They want to invest but not transfer the IP. The joint ventures, China is wary. China has just allowed rare earth minerals, magnets. China has just allowed fertilizer exports. So it's looking like it's an equal partnership, and India is trying its best to actually move forward with it despite the risks. So what did we talk about? We talked about MSS, right? Everybody knows about RAW, ICI, ISI, Mossad and CIA and so on. No, not many people know about MSS, which is the world's largest intelligence agency, $20 billion in budget, much bigger than CIA. So, despite the risks, India is trying its best to move forward with Chinese, uh, you know, Chinese democracy. Let's say the Guns N' Roses album. Now, Russia has said something very nice. Russia says if you're facing problems as far as exporting your products are considered, you can look at Russian market. The problem is Russian market is very tiny. Russian market is a very tiny market. So Russian economy is the size, like, what's Russian economy size? It's a $3 trillion economy, $3.5 trillion economy, and most of it's gas exports, so not much of domestic consumption. So that is a bit of a problem. Even though it's a grand gesture, it's a very nice gesture, it doesn't make any meaningful impact. Moving on. Uh, External CEO Tata Digital rejig on cards. So Tata Digital is trying to make its operations fly. I got a comment on LinkedIn. Good morning, Nishant. Good going. Proud of you. Says Sumana sir from Humble Bean Coffee. Great coffee, beautiful coffee, lovely coffee. Humble Bean. External CEO Tata Digital rejigs, on cards. So now, viewers of Thinkers Frequency, again, remember, we've talked about how Tata Neu was a very bad idea. So 2 years ago, I had written an article saying why Tata Neu as a super app strategy doesn't make sense. So what Tata Digital thought was, like, we've acquired 1MG, we've acquired Big Basket, we have Chroma, we have all of these people. Let's make a super app, okay? And let's bring all of these people together and sell that super app to people saying, hey, here's where you get everything, right? Now, this sounds good on paper, maybe to somebody who doesn't read a lot, but it has a lot of problems. So what happens is when you start promoting Tata Neu as a super app, you cannot be promoting Big Basket, you cannot be promoting 1MG, you cannot be promoting the individual brands, right? And once you take their light away, when you take the light off those guys independently, you are essentially cannibalizing your own brands. So Tata Neu, which has no brand equity, which has no brand presence, which has no brand recall, which is a new name that came out, which is even called New, by the way. Nobody gives a shit about it. It somehow comes out, takes all the light and says, hey, I am the center of all attraction. That's not how brand works, right? That's not how brands work. Like, you have 1MG, you have Big Basket, you have all of these people, the Cult Fit guys, you have Cult Fit, 1MG, Big Basket. These people have spent a decade trying to build their brand, trying to create some sort of user recall. And now you're supposed to shift all the attention away from them towards New. That doesn't make sense. So I had written this article back in 2022, when these people were beginning to spend $2 billion. And I said, it's going to be a $2 billion mistake if Tata does this. What is a good idea? Is that you build New as a loyalty platform. You promote New as a loyalty platform, like a discounting platform, as a Tata loyalty platform, like Starbucks. You have all these Tata brands. New could be promoting itself as a place where you could get discounts on all of these places, as a slight, background player. And you could, whatever operational efficiencies you want to bring them on the back, not on the front. You don't tie a bunch of eucalyptus trees together and hope that it'll look like a banyan tree. No, that's not how banyan trees work, right? You can't tie a bunch of eucalyptus trees and expect them to look like a banyan tree or work like a banyan tree. If you've bought a bunch of eucalyptus trees, let them grow, provide them a fertile soil, or provide them a fertile base where they can grow. That was my thesis. And people said that, hey, Tata knows more than you. They have the best consultants of the world, the highest paid consultants. Who do you know? What do you know? You don't know jack shit. And I'm like, okay, sure, let's wait and watch. And 2 years and $2 billion later, like 17,000 crores later, $2 billion is 17,000 crores? Yeah, 17,000 crores later, Tata realized that New was a bad strategy. Now they could have saved those $2 billion. You know, how could they have saved $2 billion? Can you think of a way they could have saved $2 billion? By just giving 20 million to me, right? So now they're trying to reject. A lot of CEOs have gone. Mr. Mukesh Bansal was leading Tata Digital at one point. Then somebody else came around. Then somebody else. Now they're trying to hire somebody new as the CEO of Tata Digital. So let's see what happens there. Not many hopes. Natco sues Novo in generic drug push. So there's a lot of action happening as far as the weight loss drugs are considered. You know it. We know it. We've talked a lot about this. So Novo Nordisk made this drug, and its patent is expiring March 2026. After that, there's going to be a lot of generics that are going to flush the market. Now, there was another company already in the lawsuit, right, which claimed to have created something and not have infringed their patent, but these guys sued them. Now, Natco, Hyderabad-based Natco Pharma, has sued Novo to claiming its version of the drug does not infringe the device. So again, another lawsuit. Now these people are saying that Novo essentially just delayed the response, the communication, so that they could unfairly protect their patent while the generics are gonna be on the way. So Novo is fighting a lot of battles here. Sun Pharma and now this particular Natco Pharma. So that's going on. These weight loss drugs are really gaining steam in India. 1 lakh users already. 1 lakh users. It's going to be 10 lakh users in 2 years. So this industry is gonna double in. It's gonna get squared in 2 years. Just 2 years. Exponential rise. There could be some listed company which must be supplying glass to these guys or some injections of plastics to these guys. That company's stock will go up, So what that company is, I don't know. But you can do research. Something indirectly related to these players, their stock is really gonna fly in the next 2 years. Some micro, like small cap, mid cap share, it must be there somewhere, and it's just gonna fly like nothing else. Moving on, government is really flying off, man. It's doing a lot of work as far as GST rationalization is considered. So government could scrap GST on insurance. Like, talk about good moves. Talk about good moves. And this is a continuation of a story that we discussed. Just a few days ago, we were talking about how India wants to have insurance for all by 2047, right? Insurance for all by 2047. And India's insurance penetration is still pretty low, around 5%. So GST off would bring the insurance premiums down, make it cheaper, make it better. So FM speak, GST 2.0 to enhance affordability, boost consumption, rate cut to make this and that. GST exemption for individual insurance. Business insurance will still attract 18%, but individual insurance might just get exemption from GST altogether. These people are really flying, man. So they've created the perfect storm for the economy to essentially go really far. So at this moment, we have like 6.3, 6.4, 6.5. What these people are trying is to push it up to 7% by boosting consumption like never before. So pretty good deal. By the way, speaking of good deals, clean energy companies are going IPO. They're looking at raising 25,000 crores on a net level. A lot of companies are basically going IPO. Regreen XL, Prozil Green Energy, Satvik Green Energy, and so on and so forth. All these solar companies and so on and so forth, they're really looking at going public. And with all these companies going public, there's going to be a bit of a froth as far as the public market is considered, the IPO market is considered, but it's good news. Now, they couldn't have raised more money, in the private market, so going public was the obvious route. So we're going to have a lot of green energy companies. Sector emerging as mainstream portfolio choice. amid strong investor appetite, valuations on par with traditional infra firms. But there's gonna be some rise, which is gonna be a bit of a problem. But overall, it's great news. Uh, Core industries output has slowed by 2%. Core industries, basically mining and all of these things, they've slowed because the crude imports are on. Crude imports, less rate of crude, the mining will obviously go down. Everything has a cause and effect kind of a thing, right? And that's what's going on here. Core industries slowing down to 2%. And the graph from 2023 to 2025 looks like this, which is very obvious, should not be surprising, at least for viewers of Thinkers Frequency. So moving on. Wow, man, I'm really surprised with the whole GST exemption thing and this gaming thing. uh, I didn't expect this kind of political will, right? Because there's a lot of money at stake, a lot of money. Like if you exempt things from GST, take GST off like 5%, you're gonna lose out on a lot of money, right? And yesterday we calculated how much money they would lose out if they just made smartphones come under the 5% GST play, right? Some 20,000 crores. Do you still think they'd lose out on 20,000 crores when they're losing money everywhere with all these GST exemptions? Looks difficult, right? Looks difficult. But they seem to be very strong willed on this. Moving on. Jaishankar, Russian Deputy Prime Minister, push LNG trade links. Indian goods facing US tariffs welcome in Russia. We've talked about that. Symbolic, but not substantial. Moving on. Stricter shelf life, a bitter pill to swallow for pharma companies. So this is also in continuation to a story, but it is a story which is very old. So we haven't discussed this in the past 88 days. At viewers of Thinkers Frequency wouldn't know about this, but India actually sent a lot of uh, cough syrups, okay, to these third world sub-Saharan countries, very poor countries like Gambia and so on and so forth. Now those uh, cough syrups essentially ended up killing small kids. 28 kids died in Gambia, then 21 kids died in Zaire or something like that. So a lot of children died because of, maybe not because of, I don't know if it was because of those cough syrups, but there was certainly some causation correlation being drawn, okay, which really ruined India's reputation for a while because it wasn't a good thing, right? So what the government is doing is it's saying that you have to have like a 60% shelf life in order to export things to any country. Now these companies are saying that it's going to lead to destruction of stock. If those countries are happy in importing, what's government's problem? But the government is looking at the bigger picture. The government is looking at national liabilities and loss of face. So they're basically saying norm barring export of drugs with less than 60% shelf life, leading to huge losses for manufacturers. So pharma manufacturers will obviously resist this, but the government is pretty solid that it is trouble. So now this report doesn't say anything to that because you can't openly talk about that. You can't openly admit that it could be a response to that trouble. However, this is reading between the lines. Rule meant to protect India's reputation as world's pharmacy. Updated checklist misuse cases. Industry wants rule limited to narcotics and habit-forming drugs, right? So on and so forth. Industry argues importing countries allow lower shelf life. Then why are we getting trouble? So on and so forth. So this is a good move, I guess. Better compliance. I hope nobody gets hurt because of some wrong drugs, right? You can't afford that. That's very sad. Cable DTH providers bet on IPTV to stem cord cutting losses. So there's something called cord cutting. Cord cutting is what's happening with cable and DTH guys, right? We've discussed a lot about this. So what they are trying to do, which we've discussed already, is the IPTV thing. IP is Internet Protocol Television, IPTV. So it essentially what it does is it clubs the OTTs, it clubs the cable and sells it as a package. So that is essentially what these people are trying. IPTV, Internet Protocol TV, because DTH has been going down, he's falling off the cliff, right? 150 million in 2015 to 100 million in 2025 to it's gonna be uh, 75 million in 2030. So TV is really dying. So preserve linear TV. What these guys are doing is they are clubbing linear TV with the OTT and selling it as a package. Pay TV base shrank by 30 million since pandemic. We know. Airtel Hinduja see early traction in IPTV. 9 IPTV operators in India. Total IPTV subscriptions 0.76 million. 7 lakh subscriptions. Right now, it's gonna grow. So what they're hoping for is that whatever we fall as far as this whole linear thing is considered, we'll take care of it with this IP thing. So it's gonna offset some of the losses, which sounds like a fair strategy. Yeah, sounds like a fair strategy. But how much of it's gonna actually help? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Humble coconut oil turns into a luxury product. So we did a deep dive on this a couple of weeks ago, I guess. Yeah, where we discussed how Kerala, which has coconut oil as a staple, is facing unprecedented problems because of coconut oil getting very expensive. You remember that? We talked about how the price of coconuts has tripled and people have suddenly started protecting coconut trees with some sort of chains and barricades and so on, something which was unprecedented in Kerala. People are looking at alternatives to coconut oil because it's gotten so expensive. It's grown like 3x, and that is because of these people are saying because of uh, pests and so on and so forth and bad rains and all the chemicals. But it's essentially lack of care given to those trees when the times were good. So all that is biting. Rising demand for coconut water hits supply, while droughts and pest attacks take a toll on production in Asia. So we discussed how Kerala, the name Kerala is basically coconut, the land of coconut, Kerala, right? The etymology, it's getting very expensive. Prices in India have nearly tripled in less than 2 years to a record of 4 lakh 23 rupees per metric ton. So very difficult times. Trees are aging and so on and so forth. The soil is not that healthy anymore, which is leading to problems as far as yields are considered. Nobody knows how it's gonna get solved. By the way, these things don't get solved just like that. Maybe you got to import, maybe you got to fix. These solutions are probably a bit long term or mid term. If not, they cannot be instant, is what I understand. So moving on. Shortfall was only reflected in 2024 since coconuts typically need a year to mature after flowering. In the wake of years to underinvestment thanks to low prices, coconut production was further hit by COVID-19 outbreak. So whenever things are going good, whenever everything is going good, nobody cares about making investments for the future. That's true for rare earth magnets. That's true for everything, right? So you don't care about making investments or making something better till you are making money. These things only come after the fact when you've actually started losing money and so on and so forth, which is unfortunately what's happening with coconuts. Uh, July core growth, we've already talked about that. Heavy rains damage veggie and pulses crop. Onion prices up 15 to 20%. Tomato 25 to 50%. Some signs of inflation there because of extreme rains. Mumbai markets getting flooded and so on and so forth. These people are not being able to manage the stock. A lot of flowery leafy vegetables have been ruined because of a lot of moisture and so on and so forth. So this is trouble. This is very, very big trouble. And this, if get inflamed, if it gets inflamed, this whole situation will lead to inflation in the food prices. which will lead to some sort of motion or some sort of flux in the whole activity. However, viewers of Thinkers Frequency should remember we talked about how government was looking at investing a lot in logistics and storage. You remember that? We talked about how the government was talking about bringing the logistics cost down because logistics drive everything. And then bringing of logistics down, they were investing a lot in warehousing and advanced warehousing to sort of keep things, because India's warehousing is basically nothing as compared to every country. We have zero point 0.2 warehouses per a unit, and these people have like 3.4 and so on and so forth. So we have a lot of scope to build our warehousing. It was to avoid these kinds of problems. So maybe if the government stays intact, the government's moves stay intact and the corruption doesn't get to it, these problems could be the problems of past, you know. But for now, we deal with these third world problems where rains destroy crops and there's nothing anybody can do about it. Moving on. Mr. Shujay Kale asks, where do you stay, brother? I live in Delhi. I live in Delhi. Why did you ask that, by the way? What was, what made you ask that? At 2.2 million, EPFO net job addition in June, highest on record. Now, I want you to, answer. The EPFO job numbers are going to pick up, right? These formal economy job numbers are going to pick up. Why? It's related to a government move. Why? Can you tell me why? Viewers of Thinkers Frequency should know. These numbers are going to pick up, and it's just going to be a source of good news for the next few quarters, next few months, repeatedly. Why? Mr. Patil says, hi, 15,000 incentives. Yeah, right answer. ELI, employee linked incentive schemes. So they're gonna keep pushing these numbers up, and that's good news. That's good news. MORTH working on policy for safe sharing of national transport data. India is really going heavy on data collection, data accuracy, data integrity, and so on. A lot of surveys happening. MOSPI really doing well. Ministry of Statistics and Programming and Implementation. This particular bit is about Ministry of Road Transport and Highways policy initiative about the national transport data. Why do you need national transport data? Because that is a very early indicator of consumption. So if transport is picking up, right, movement of goods and movement of people is picking up, you can see that something good is going to happen a few days later. So it's an early indicator. There's something called an early indicator, then there's a lagging indicator, right? Transport is always a very early indicator of what can happen in the economy. So suddenly if you see that, oh, the toll collections are falling, currently the numbers wouldn't look so bad, but they suddenly start looking bad in a few months, in a few weeks, in a few quarters, because the road has the answers to everything, right? We've talked a lot about this. Moving on. Vedanta demerger. Hope they focus on doing census data too. Oh, they are, Mr. Tiwari. They are very heavy on it. Last census data which still ran was something like a 2011 thing. That was the whole NRC and CA kind of a thing, right? They were clubbing it up with the census data. And right now, the SIR, which is the voter registration thing, which politics, we don't discuss politics, but has to do with this discussion. So I'm talking about, so they are basically doing a voter roll clarification where they're judging voter rolls of all kinds, and those voter rolls are not matching. A lot of it is illegal immigrants voting and so on and so forth. So they are doing that. It's very heavy. and that's a very big bone of political contention, because some political parties, regional parties, they want those immigrants to vote, right? And some parties don't. I won't say who, and so on and so forth, because we don't discuss politics and we shouldn't, but they are really heavy on it. Moving on. Vedanta demerger deadline risk at NCLT differs hearing. So Vedanta, viewers of Thinkers Frequency would remember, is going through a real debt crisis, and how it's navigating through through that debt crisis is by essentially demerging its entities and raising money for them independently, so the whole financial thing can look good. So that's what Vedanta is doing. However, NCLT has come in the way. The court has given a hearing of September 17th, and September 30 is when they want to do something. So they are like giving a guarantee and so on and so forth, and like saying that this is gonna put our demerger at risk. Please don't do this. Courts and their dates, man. I had a case which is running, and I got a hearing of like 7 months later. Like courts and their hearings, right? You Judiciary, it's totally screwed up. Moving on. There's the news piece, and I'm gonna ask you to give your reading of the situation. The news piece says Voda Idea rings in relief. Subscriber losses hit record low since merger. Okay, now this is what they say. Just 0.5 million subscribers lost in Q1 of F126 against average of 3.7 million per quarter in the previous fiscal year. So they're saying that there's a relief that subscribers losses have hit a record low. Now where's the lie, or let's say where's the problem with this reading of the situation? Can you guess where these people are, what these people are hiding, right? It should be very transparent that a company which is losing, they are still losing. They are still losing, and they are running out of people to lose. That's the play. So you've been losing like 3.7 million people every quarter, right? So your base becomes low, right? Your base becomes small. If your base becomes small, there's only so much, that you can lose. So you bottom out, right? It's bottom out. So it's not a relief. It's still a bad news. Now they're saying, but it's less bad than before. So that's the relief. Subscriber losses hit. They're saying now that 4G and 5G penetration is going on, they could be looking at raising their average revenue per user. So the problem with Voda is that it cannot command any pricing power, right? Because of its situation. So it'll always be a follower. So the only way Vodafone's ARPU will rise is when Airtel and Jio decide to raise their ARPU. So when Airtel and Jio raise their prices, that's the only place, that's the only way Voda will get a breather. So that's the problem. Mr. Jindal says, I think it's since Jio merger. I didn't get that. But moving on. Total subscribers 197 million, down 12 million. 12 million year on year. Gross ads, data subscribers 135 million. 4G subscribers 127 million. And so on and so forth. So aggressive rollout. The company is still in dire straits. It wants the money. It wants a lot of capex. It doesn't have the money. The government is running out. The government is already having like 49% of the company. It can't inject any more. So that's a bit of a problem. Moving on. Amazon may use Android in Fire tablet. So Amazon came out with Fire tablets, and Amazon wanted to have its own fork, an Android fork. Now that's a bit technical. But forking, Amazon wanted to create its own OS essentially, which was different from Android. So they wanted to fork it out, and then they made Fire. However, after they started that in 2011, it didn't fly because Google didn't let them. And now they're basically using Android in their Fire tablets, which is a big news in the tech industry. Big news. Moving on. Problem is online money gaming, not esports, Meaty says. Meaty is Ministry of Information and Technology. Well, obviously, gaming industry is just beautiful, right? Gaming industry leads to a lot of jobs. A lot of technology revolutions come from gaming. A lot of new industries spring from gaming. Gaming is very healthy. Gaming is great. Gaming is not the problem. And these people have called themselves gaming apps, but they are betting apps, which is the problem. We've discussed that, so let's move on. Three of MPC recognized space to cut rates, but voted for a pause. No rate cuts to be happening right now. We've discussed that. You can't expect a rate cut to be happening at this hour when US has laid the tariffs and there's going to be some rise in inflation and it's going to be a bit of a problem. There's so many things are happening. Rate cuts might not happen now, but sometime else. So that's going to be a second leg to the growth boost, right? The second leg of rate cuts, that's going to lead to a lot of good outcomes. So the government is probably looking at like a 7% growth rate, which is awesome. Fed officials prefer to maintain rates. Two of them said we can reduce like 0.25%. This is the first time that Fed is having a difference of opinion. Fed, when I say Fed, I'm talking about Federal Reserves US. We know, viewers of Thinkers Frequency know that Mr. Trump wanted Fed to reduce rates. Jeremy Powell, the Fed chief, didn't want to reduce rates. He said we're going to look at it non-politically. Trump told him, referred to him as a moron, as a stupid guy, as somebody slow, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of discord happening as far as Fed is considered, but no rate cuts for now. Moving on. Ultratech to sell up 6.4% in India Cements. That's okay. A lot of action as far as the cement business is considered. So there was this, report. Somebody wrote an article was it Bloomberg? Yeah, Bloomberg. He says Indian equity valuations are pure Bollywood. And he said that India is looking at very inflated valuations because cement businesses are getting a multiple which is double the multiple other companies get and other countries are getting. What he was saying was that India is running on a story that India has a lot of room to grow, and that's why the multiples are basically weirdly unjustifiable. And cement was the cornerstone. So his analysis was based on cement companies because India's cement companies are getting valued, at least twice or thrice as far as price to earnings is considered relative to the other countries, right? And now it's very easy to argue against it. If Indian companies are so highly valued, why is India's Buffett indicator at 1.33, right? Why is India's Buffett indicator at 1.33 when US Buffett indicator is at 1.9, right? 1.33 is like we are fairly valued, man. Yes, cement is looking green right now because there's a lot of deal action that is happening. Government capex is not falling down anytime soon. Government is really heavy on construction, on road manufacturing. Mr. Gadkari is saying that he wants to touch 100 kilometers of road construction in a day. Yeah, so India does have a better prospect as far as cement is considered. What's the problem? So the Bloomberg guys, they are not happy with how Indian equities are getting traded, but it's not an alarmingly high play, to be honest. To be fair. So screw you, the opinion writer of Bloomberg. But yeah, sometimes the valuations just take a hike, like I wrote about Lenskart. So that bit is pretty scary. Moving on. Banks margins slipped to lowest in 3 years on rate cut impact. Now we've discussed a lot about that. Net interest margins lowest in 3 years. What did we tell you? We talked about this in depth. It's happening. It's gonna improve in the next quarter or so. So let's see. Moving on. Gasification tech a mismatch for India's high ash content coal. Government think tanks call for tech fitment as India sets 100 metric ton targets by 2030. So it's something technical. Essentially, the coal, auction and coal, essentially gasification of coal in India is a bit of a problem because the coal we have has some sort of ash content which is high. So we need a tech refitment, or let's say a tech rejig, to manage the quality of coal that we essentially mine. That's what these people are talking about. Nayara Energy is facing a very big problem. It's turning to dark fleets, Russian oil for survival, right? Nayara is, we've talked about this. It's a joint venture between Reliance and Rosneft. Rosneft is the Russian company. Reliance is, of course, Reliance. 49% owned by Rosneft. It's sanctioned to the T, which is causing a lot of problems. And, this is they're using dark fleets to actually uh, trade off their supplies because it's a bit of a problem. Uh, by the way, what Mr. Patil said yesterday, Mr. Patil made a very intelligent comment yesterday where he said that a lot of problems that are happening with the gaming industry are going to be laid on or going to start trickling down to the influencer marketing, the ad play. Well, it's right. The actors, they've asked their agents to start uh, distancing themselves from the ads they published for all these real money gaming plays. So they're deleting those ads. They're making distance because it's become a punishable offense. So these people are going away, and there is a lot of panic amongst the influencer community. So a lot of influencers are still saying that hey, they can't cut these legal players. So rest easy. So there's a lot of uh, you know uh, difficulty that's going on with the whole gaming industry and the influencer marketing play and the advertising play. So Indian advertising, the digital advertising, it's a heavy thing. Google made like $3 billion in ad revenue from India last year. Facebook did $2 billion, 16,000 crores, 16,000 and 24,000 crores. So $5 billion, 45,000 crores in total. There's a lot of money, right? 40,000 crores. That's a lot of money. You're gonna see some of that going down, right? Because let's say gaming industry did revenues of 30,000 crores, right? Let's say betting industry, god damn it, betting industry did revenues of 30,000 crores. How much of their revenues must have gone to marketing? Is 20% a right estimate? Is 20% marketing spend per revenue a good estimate? 20 to 30%? What do you think? 20%? Am I fair here? Uh, I guess 20% is right? So 20% of 30,000 crores, that is how much? 6,000 crores, right? 6,000 crores are gonna go out from this particular play. Man, that's gonna have ramifications, right? That's gonna have some serious ramifications. Less noise on the internet for sure. That's gonna be a positive. Changes will ensure predictability in GST policy, says Madam Nirmala Sitharan. She's on fire. Nobody is blaming her anymore. She used to be. She said, "I'm an easy punching bag for critics, but we are trying our best." And looks like she really came of age. Moving on. IKEA India gearing up for second wave of growth. IKEA is really IKEA is a Swedish company. Ingvar Kamprad, a great businessman, legend. He recently passed away. It's doing well in India, making some losses, but not going slow because it's the world's largest furniture maker. So they say that we are looking at a second wave of growth. IKEA also has a lot of arrangements of procurement of material from India. So they consider buying from India also for their overseas markets, not just the domestic markets. So IKEA doubling down on India is very good news for India. Moving on. All Lavasa suitors raise offers in third round. Valor Estates leads, to buy Lavasa. It's going through a bankruptcy proceeding. LCLT, National Company Law Tribunal. UID Authority stalling partner for Aadhaar-based customer verification. So Starlink and UID are linking Aadhaar-based customer verification to essentially, you know, take care of the security clearances. Starlink is gonna get security clearances very soon. Starlink, Amazon Kuiper, Bharti, OneWeb, Eutelstat, Geo, all of these SATCOM players are gonna rise. This is amongst the three industries we're gonna go tenfold very recently. One is of course weight loss drugs, the other is satcom, the other is nuclear. All of these industries are going to go all the way. And with that we've covered everything. There's a research which was recently published, and it said that food affects the mood of people. Food affects mental health of people. Now they Cypos wrote this research. uh, did they mean that food which is directly consequential to your health, to your body, also has ramifications on your brain? Which means brain, which is a part of body, will get affected by what you feed the body. Do you know how they could have saved some money on that research? Can you guess how could they have saved some money on research which said food you eat has a lot to do with how mental acuity or brain function gets affected by not publishing it? Says Mr. Ankit Jindal. Well, there could have been a better way. I'm banking on Mr. Tarun to say it. He's always been my good Samaritan when it comes to this. Mr. Tarun, how could they have saved some money on this research? Come on. I'm counting on you here. Can you think of a way where they could have saved some money? Eating food also affects your brain, which is a part of your body. Well, nobody's saying it, so I'll say it myself. They could have asked me, and I would have said, save half of your money, save half of it, and yes, it does, and then I would have been rich, but not every dream comes true. And with that, we've come to the end of the 88th episode of Thinker's Frequency, our daily mental workout. Pay to Nishant, says Mr. Tiwari. Mr. Tiwari, thank you so much. Thank you. You're my good Samaritan. This brings us to the end of the 88th episode of Thinker's Frequency, our daily mental workout, our daily dose of insights and analysis which don't lead to paralysis right before we punch in. It's 9:07. We're going to punch in anytime soon. I hope you have a beautiful day personally and professionally. I'll see you tomorrow, same place, same time, hopefully. Take care. Bye-bye.